Hey guys, welcome to Talk Shop Live. I'm Hoda Kotb, and I'm so happy to be here with my pal, this guy, Harry Connick Jr. Y'all, he's got a beautiful and deeply personal new book out. It's called Babe Elaboratio. Okay, you can get started. You can order your copy right now, including, get this, an exclusive signed copy by this guy. The book goes on sale September 29th, but for our viewers right here, you can order now. Just press the shop button at TalkShopLive. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Insta, comment shop and you'll get a link. And if you're watching on YouTube, plenty of ways to get this. The link in the description order will also be taking fan questions throughout the show. Hi, Harry.
How are you?
You know what? I know so much about you. I know all about your music. I know about your dad. But someone I didn't know about was this beautiful woman on the cover of your book, your mama.
That's right.
So she passed away when you were just 13?
I was 13, so she was she's kind of frozen in my mind in time, because the way I remember her was this driven, brilliant, perfect woman, and she sort of set the bar really high for me for the rest of my life. And I was fortunate to have her for that amount of time. And the reason I wanted to write this book, it's kind of hard to tell you why I decided to write it, because it's coming from a bunch of different angles. But this book was written as sort of something to accompany a piece of music that I wrote for my mom. And then when I wrote the music, I wrote a little bit of the book, and then the book sort of informed the music, and then all of the memories sort of circled around, and they both kind of came into existence at the same time.
Well, music, I mean, is obviously so important to you. You're like this prodigy, like a 5-year-old who is killing it. I remember in New Orleans looking at those videos of you. I didn't realize your mom was also such a musician. She loved music.
She was a big music fan.
Yeah.
She came from New York. She was born in New York City in 1926, and there was some music in her family. Like, I didn't know my grandmother, her mother, but apparently she would sing like operettas. She was from Hungary. And then my mother played the flute, and there was my Uncle Joe, who was a composer. So I think a lot of the music came from that side, but she was a huge music fan, and her dream was for me to be a musician, and specifically to play at Carnegie Hall.
To play at Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
That's something you have never done in your career. Not that
Yeah.
you haven't been asked,
That's
but
right.
you've never done it in your career.
Not only have I not done it, but I've never even been inside Carnegie Hall, because I wanted to wait for a special occasion. There was you may remember this show called, I think it was called PM Magazine in New Orleans. Well, they did a profile on me when I was about 12. So this was a year before my mom died. And we have her on film saying that she could die happy knowing that her son played at Carnegie Hall.
Oh.
It's pretty cool. And so when I was 10, I called Carnegie Hall from New Orleans, and I got the box office. And I said, my name's Harry Connick Jr. I'm a piano player from New Orleans. I'd really like to play there. Can I play there? They're like, well, no, this is the box office. It doesn't work like that. So I told my mom, I said, I tried to play, and she said that was nice of me to do that. And when she died when I was 13, I kind of made a promise to myself to wait for a special occasion. So over the years, Carnegie Hall would call and ask if I would play, and we always declined because it wasn't the right time. So about 8 years ago, my manager, Anne Marie, called Carnegie Hall and said, do you have May 22nd, 2026? Because that would have been my mom's 100th birthday. So even to this day, as we speak, I have not been in that room, and I'll wait until 7:45 on that night, and then at 8 o'clock I'll go out on the stage and perform a symphony I wrote for her.
Oh my, I could weep. By the way, you've waited for this moment. It's coming in May, and you're going to be playing Carnegie Hall.
I know, it's really crazy.
Oh. Okay, so let's take a couple fan questions, shall we? Because I love how everyone's writing in. I got one here. Taylor's asking something along the same lines. Did your mom teach you to play music? And how did she learn?
So my mom kind of was a hobbyist. She played the flute a little bit, but she was determined to get me a musical education from the time I was really actually too young, because she would take me out at 2 and 3 trying to find teachers for me, and nobody would teach me at that age. But she wanted to make sure that I got the right kind of musical education. So, you know, she would go around. And when I was about 5, I started getting piano lessons, and then she just was adamant in making sure that I got the education that I needed.
I love it. Okay, here we got Jason. He's asking this. Do you think you'd still be a musician if you grew up somewhere besides New Orleans? That's a good question.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm sure you think about it too, how much that city shapes people. And I think I would be a musician, but I don't think I would have, I don't think I'd be very, I think I'd be a very different personality and different musician, because I learned so much from watching those great performers. And when you're a young piano player and you're watching these incredible musicians lead those bands, there's a way that New Orleans musicians entertain that I don't think I would have gotten anywhere else.
All right, a reminder, guys, if you're watching, you can order this book right here. It's called Babe, Elaboratio, right now, including an exclusive signed copy from Harry Connick Jr. Again, just press the shop button on your thing and you can get it. Okay, Babe, Elaboratio. I'm sure people are like, what is Elaboratio?
Yeah.
What is that?
Okay, so my mom was the youngest of 6 kids, so her nickname was Babe. And she was very particular about a lot of things in her life. One was she didn't want people to know how old she was. So even on her tombstone in New Orleans, it says, it doesn't have her name. It says Babe, doesn't have her birthday, it just has the year of her death. That's it. She was very committed to people not knowing how old she was, very mysterious. She was also quite learned and educated. She was an academic. She was a lawyer and a judge. She was great with etymology. She knew a lot about the English language. What I did with this book and the music I wrote for her was basically elaborated on what I thought her life was like, because I only have 13 years of stories from her. So from the day she was born in 1926, I sort of had these signpost stories that I remember her telling me, but everything else was just an elaboration. My mother would have thought, so I went to school with a guy who became the editor of the American Heritage Dictionary. I called him and I said, what would like a common vernacular noun of elaborate be back when the word came into existence? He said, elaboratio would be a noun. So I said, instead of calling this a symphony or a concerto, I'm going to call it an elaboratio, which my mother would have said, are you kidding? Because she liked to speak, as smart as she was, she liked to keep things very simple. So I did it kind of as a nod to my mom's humor and intelligence. So the elaboratio is basically this particular art form that I wrote for her.
So you wrote music for her and you wrote this book. So how did like one inform the other? Were you writing that? Were you coming up with the book and the story ideas and going, that song's coming, or was it the other way around?
Well, it was a little bit of both. I would think about, there was a story about my mom driving through Times Square in the back of a Suburban. So there were all 6 siblings and they all had this blonde hair, and my grandpa was driving, and they were all standing up in the back of the Suburban because they were children. And a police officer pulled over the car because he said, you know, it's illegal to drive livestock through Times Square. He thought they were sheep, because this was like in 1932 or something like that. So I have these stories, and so I would write what that sounded like, and then I would orchestrate it, meaning I would give the violins this part, the flutes this part, and I would do it like that. What I didn't do was ask my sister, who was a few years older than I was, any particulars, because I wanted this to be my memory. So when my sister read the book, I said, is there anything here that's wrong? She goes, a lot of it's wrong. You misremembered or made up a lot of stuff. But that's what I wanted. I wanted
Your childhood.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to do this gift just from me as I remembered it, and I elaborated on it. So that's where that came
Isn't it
from.
funny
They
how
kind of
memories
inform-
are?
Oh,
Yeah.
And like you say, we were talking before we started the interview, sometimes, was I there? Is that a photograph that I
Picture?
saw? Yeah,
Right. A
it's
video? Did
very
someone
strange.
tell me?
Yeah.
Like trying to piece that back. Did they kind of unearth as you were going, where you're like, oh yeah, wait, I was there. That reminds me of this.
Well, the crazy thing was, so my parents met in North Africa. My dad was working over there in like 1950, and my mom was over there too. And I saw how they met in my mind, and I wrote the music about it, and I described what my dad was wearing, and I discovered a photo album that I hadn't seen ever after my dad died a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I'm looking at these pictures, and it was what I saw in my head. Like my dad went up to my mom at a cafe in Morocco and said, "Pack your bags, we're going to get married." And they eloped. I wasn't there for that. That was in 1950, 51, or whenever it was. And then I saw a picture of my mom at that cafe, and I'm like, that's kind of what I saw in my mind.
What you saw in your mind.
So it's this whole process has been kind of out of body.
Yeah, it's like cathartic too. You're getting all this stuff out. Okay, we have more questions. Okay, here we go. Mallory, I got one for you, Mallory. Would you ever consider, okay, well, this is off point, but okay. Wait, hang on. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I missed that one. Okay. Jordan asked this. How and when did you meet the gorgeous Jill, your wife?
I met Jill in 1990. I was staying at the Sunset Marquis Hotel. I was working on an album, and I was swimming in the pool, and I see this beautiful woman walk past the pool, and we had a mutual friend. And I don't know where I got the nerve to do it, but I jumped out of the pool and I went up to her and I said, "My name's Harry, we have a mutual friend." And she says, "Oh, it's nice to meet you. I'm running late, I have an appointment." I said, "Maybe we could get some lunch." She says, I can't. And I said, "Please," and she said, okay. And that was 36 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many kids now?
3 kids, and yeah, we've been together. I was 22, so I'm 58 now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, here we go. Christine asked this. Did you know you could sing before you could play the piano when you were little?
Oh, that's a cool question. Well, I used to imitate Louis Armstrong when I was a kid, so that's not really singing sort of the way I sing now. It's just sort of imitating my hero. But piano was definitely first. And then when I got to be about 6, 7, 8, I started singing. And then the first time I was recorded singing was on my first album where I imitated Louis Armstrong. So it wasn't until I was a teenager when I started singing kind of more like I sing now.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, just a reminder, guys, of course, you can order Harry's book. It's called Babe, Elaboratio. You can go through TalkShopLive. You can get an exclusive signed copy because you guys are getting early access. The book doesn't come out until September 29th, so this is kind of special just for you guys. I mean, your mom packed a lot of love in 13 years.
She did.
What did she give you? I mean, what did she put in you in those 13 years that brought you to the man you are?
Well, it's astounding, Hoda, because I talked to my sister a lot about this. My sister, my dad and mom used to sit me down with my sister sometimes and interview us with a little tape recorder. And one of the interviews, my mom said, we were talking about the Bible or some things in Jewish history, and I started speaking in Hebrew. And I told my sister, I said, "Did I speak Hebrew?" She goes, "Yeah, Mom brought you to Hebrew school." And I don't remember that.
Right.
And then my mom would say, "What did you learn in Hebrew school?" I was like 3. I said, "I learned about Malachi." She goes, "What color was his face?" I said, "It was brown." And I listened to that now, and what she was doing was educating me. And her favorite song, if you can imagine this, was "Strange Fruit" by Billie Holiday. I mean, this is a song about lynching. And I remember her playing the music for me and explaining the lyrics. Black bodies hanging from the poplar trees. I mean, this is profound, incredibly painful information that I distinctly remember my mom teaching me about. And it was almost as if she was saying, "Look, I'm not going to be here much longer. You need to know this. And I need to, and it wasn't presented in a crude way. It was very soft and very maternal. But I think about some of that stuff now, and that's who I am, is because of her and because of my dad. And I think about that, like, if you know you're going to die and you have a child, what do you impart them with? What do you imbue them with? What do you leave them with? And I just thought she was extraordinary. She was just
Did your mom, she died of pancreatic cancer?
Of ovarian cancer.
Ovarian cancer. She died of ovarian cancer. Did you know how much time?
I knew nothing, because she was diagnosed when I was 10, and I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
I just thought she wasn't feeling well. And even the day she died, I didn't realize that was it, It was, she just was unusual. There was a story about, she was at a cocktail party with my dad. My dad was a really super handsome guy, and a woman was hitting on him at this cocktail party. And my mom was just standing right there, and she says, you know, feel free to go home with him if you want, but just remember we come as a set. Like she was really unusual, you know, and had a really wild sense of humor, and just she was amazing.
She was so ahead of her time.
She really
you kind of
was.
glossed over. She was like a lawyer, a judge. It's like, wait, what? Like
Yeah.
she was doing all the things.
Well, how about moving to Istanbul in her mid-20s? She didn't have a great life in New York, so she got on a plane and said, I'm out of here, and started a life. And then she went to North Africa and met my dad and eloped. And then my dad got tuberculosis and had to stay overseas. And my mom, who had never been to New Orleans, you know, I mean, New Orleans in the 50s was pretty provincial.
Yeah.
She moves into this Jewish girl from New York, and she lived with my dad's parents, never having met them before, having eloped, which I don't know, I don't want to presume that my grandparents would have disapproved, but these are strong Catholics. I don't think eloping was something that they would have been thrilled about, but they accepted her, and she really was ahead of her time.
Wow. By the way, I mean, digging into this book is going to be amazing. First of all the stories and the life lessons, which I think transcend anybody. Like anyone can read this. They're your life lessons, but if I'm reading this book, they're mine too. Okay, let's see what our next question is. This is from, God, these fans are in. Mallory, here's your favorite question coming. Would you ever consider doing a Hope Floats 2? Are you still friends with Sandra Bullock?
I'm really good friends with Sandy. I love her very much. She's a very special human being, and she's an incredible friend. She's an unbelievable mother. And I mean, yeah, sure. If she called and said, I want to do this, I'd do anything with her.
Yeah.
I just love her.
Yeah, she's one of the greats.
She's the real deal.
I mean, you know, one of the reasons, probably the main reason I adopted my kids was because I saw her do it.
Is that right?
I actually called her and said, wait, you just adopted, she adopted Louis from New Orleans, do you remember? And right after I saw her do that, I called because I was thinking about adopting, but I thought I was too old, and I realized we were the same age. And she goes, oh, you got to do it. It'll be the best thing you've ever done in your life.
Yeah, she's a remarkable woman. She's always been like that. There's a reason she's a movie star, but she's also exactly what you would hope. She's just brilliant and so kind, and been so kind to me for many years.
Just want to give a reminder here to everybody who's watching, pre-order this book, Babe, Elaboratio. Again, press the shop button at here at Talk Shop Live, and on Facebook you hit shop, or Instagram, click YouTube, you know all the ways to get it. It's a great, great, great book. And Harry, as we're kind of wrapping up our time together, I have to read the back of this book because it's so wow. It says, man, there aren't enough trees to make enough paper to write enough words to say how much I love my mom. I mean,
she was everything. I mean, even though I only had her for 13 years, I don't know whether those stories that I remember are more clear because I didn't have her for that long. As you were talking, I thought, I was in DC once with my mom and dad, and there was a piano in the lobby of this hotel, and I started playing, and people started coming over to me and throwing money at me, $5 or $1 or something like that. My dad wasn't paying attention. My mom was standing, and I had like $30, $40. I mean, you know, this is 1977, and I'm like, man, that's a lot of money. And I thanked everybody, and my mother came up to me, she says, go give all that money back. I said, what? She says, we don't accept that. And I'm like, like, what? And it was just, I have a million stories like that of her doing things. Or when she was running for judge, there'd be a telephone pole with her campaign poster. She'd pull over to the side of the road and tell me to get out and take the poster down. I said, Mom, that's your poster. She goes, that's illegal, son. I didn't put that up there, and the person knows not to do that. I'm like, so I'd be on my way to school, and I'm like pulling posters, like, come on, man.
by the way, your mom's moral compass.
Oh, forget it.
And what she taught you, I'm thinking about the lyrics of the song.
Oh, it's heavy.
It's like the real stuff. And some, by the way, Harry, many people go their whole lives and never get those lessons from their parents. The fact that you got yours in 13 years.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And it defined, I don't like to say female strength and elegance, but let's just call it for what it is. My definition of what incredible women are came from her. I recognize it in you. I recognize it in my daughters and my wife and my manager. It's like I'm extremely in tune to that. And whenever I'm around any woman, I know that there's something that I can learn from this. And if I stay quiet long enough and listen carefully enough, I may walk away a little bit better. And I learned that from her. I learned it all from her.
You talked about, let me just get to what I feel like is a really important question. When your mom passed that day, what did you lose that day, the day she passed?
I remember that day because my dad had asked me, I think in some way he said, hey, maybe you should go out and do something, because I knew that they knew that was happening. She was at home. So I went to a concert at this church. It was a piano recital. And I honestly had no clue what was going on. I mean, I knew my mom wasn't well. And I remember my Aunt Jessie came up to me at an intermission, and she kneeled down. She said, you know, your mom just died. We should go home. And it was just I mean, it's nothing novel. I mean, anybody who's experienced death knows that. But it's so hard to articulate what I lost and what I gained, because there's nothing positive to take from that experience. But I don't think I would be the same person had she lived, because it created such a void, such a deficit. Because I mean, everybody says that about their mom, about how their mom's the greatest. My mom, she really was an extraordinary human being.
Yeah.
Do you know that one time I was about 5 and I was running away, and I had my suitcase out and I was packing it. And I was angry and crying, and my mother came into my room. She says, what are you doing? I said, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm leaving. She said, okay. And I packed my suitcase and I started to walk out the door, and my mom shows up with her suitcase. I said, what are you doing? She says, I don't like it here either. And we got into her car, and she put her suitcase in and I put my suitcase in, and I'm sitting in the front seat, and she said, you ready? And I started crying. And she says, why are you crying? I said, I don't want to run away. She goes, I don't either. And it wasn't like that all the time, but there were times when she would empower me to make decisions and sort of figure things out. She was really adamant about the discovery process. She wasn't the type of person who said, you should do this, you should do that. She just
Let you figure it out.
Yeah, but I don't want to make it sound like if I was in danger, she'd let me walk into a busy street.
Yeah.
But so many times she would sort of allow me to figure things out. It's just unusual, because as a parent, you have a tendency, at least I did, to want to solve all of the problems. And she just didn't do it like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just an amazing perspective on parenting. You know?
And I think the musical part, I just want to go back to the Carnegie Hall thing, because I think the idea that on her 100th birthday, you're playing Carnegie Hall, and you say you're not gonna even go out there until it's just about time.
Yeah.
What do you imagine that moment will be, and what kind of a connection do you think you'll feel with her? Are you going to talk about, like, what will that performance be like?
Well, it's going to be like the very first piano I had. I'm going to have it on stage. I always dreamed about having a grand piano. When I was 12, she bought me a baby grand Yamaha piano. I'm going to bring that piano.
Oh.
So I know what the show is going to be, but I don't spend much of my time thinking about how I'm going to feel, because I think, first of all, we're never right about that stuff anyway. But when 7:45 comes, I'm going to be standing looking through the doors, never having been on that stage or in that room, and then I'm going to walk out and I'm going to feel like I feel then. And I mean, honestly, Hoda, it could be, I could collapse on the stage in tears. I could go through it with a smile on my face. But I don't really spend time thinking. It is so overwhelmingly personal and emotional that I choose to rather talk to you right now and then think about like how I'm going to feel in that moment. I can say it'll be the most impactful performance I've ever done or will ever do. I mean, nothing is going to get heavier than that ever. I mean, that's just real heavy.
When you played, what did your mom love the most about you performing?
You know, she you know how this is. Like the pain, the good pain that you feel with the love for your kids, like it just kills you. Like you love them so much. Like I remember there was a Mozart piano concerto that she loved, and I didn't know she was dying at the time, but she would be in the living room and I'd be in the other room with the piano, and I would play it for her, and I would run in the other room and, did you like that? She said, yeah, play it again. I would run back and play it again. It meant so much to her. Like she was, I don't want to say unusually proud, but maybe I just remember it like that, but I can't recall seeing a mother be more proud than that. I mean, she was just so proud.
Did she push you? Like, I know you're so good because everyone talked about you the minute I went to New Orleans. They were like, Harry Connick Jr., you should have seen him when he was little, and now look at him. All that stuff. Did
they use that creepy voice when they?
Hey, remember that guy?
Who's that? Who's that Hoda?
Man, that guy's really good. Man, you should see him play.
But
who were those people?
God only knows. But did she push you? Did she say, Harry, it's time to practice? And you were like, Mom, I want to go play outside.
Well, she would not let me play outside.
Oh, okay.
I was never on a sports team, ever. She forbade me to play football.
Why? Because of
my fingers.
Oh, your fingers.
Yeah, she never let me do. She was tough like that. But she didn't push me like in a bad way.
Yeah.
But she would. I mean, I was competing. I was doing all this stuff. So she would stand behind me. Okay, I'm gonna try to tell the story and not get in trouble for it. She would stand behind me when I would practice sometimes, and if I made a mistake, she would do that hard, just on my head. She just knocked me in a sweet way.
Yeah.
Till it became sort of Pavlovian, where I would see her coming, I would develop this twitch. Like, look, I'm trying my best here. But she didn't push me because I loved it so much, but she just wanted to make sure. You know the school NOCA in New Orleans? Did you know that they didn't allow private school kids to go? It was only public schools.
I didn't know that.
She went to Baton Rouge and got the law changed. She said, there's no reason that my son, who goes to Jesuit high school, should not be able to take advantage of this education.
Sure.
So they
changed the laws because of her.
Yeah, so she was like, my son is a musician, and he should have access to the best education. Just because he goes to a Catholic high school shouldn't preclude him from getting that. I mean, she was dogged. And with my sister, too, like with her languages and medical stuff, she was just a very supportive parent.
Wow. Okay, this book's juicy. You got to get it. It's called Babe, Elaboratio, and exclusively for our Talk Shop folks, you're going to get a signed copy. All you have to do is press the shop button right there, Talk Shop Live, comment, shop on Facebook or Instagram, or click the link on YouTube. All right, all special things. Harry, thank you so much.
Thanks, Hope.
All right, love you, Mike.
Love you, too.